Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo, happy to be here with you this Wednesday night. It's the first day in a long time where we have a Republican president-elect, and I'm happy to announce that. Our phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. My throat's a little raspy. Been doing a lot of talking, a lot of appearances, a lot of everything, and it's like allergy season all over again. So bear with me. Anyway, I want to get into a bunch. There's a lot tonight. Hopefully, I have enough. If I don't, we'll do like a separate podcast, like an hour 4 of the program, because there's really a lot to talk about. Part of what I want to get to is a lot of clips. I want to make sure. I know that you guys are kind of split, right? I know that there are some of you in the audience out there that are today listening for the first time. They're like, oh, I heard about this guy, Valdez. Let's listen. Some of you just stumbling upon the show from being in the car, being at work, and you hear it on the radio. Got it. Some of you are like, you know what? I listen to talk radio, but I'll be damned if I have to listen to the mainstream media, MSNBC, and the rest of those people. Gotcha. And others of you are like, yeah, I take in everything. I don't even like this guy, Valdez. This guy's a jerk. But I like to listen to what everybody's saying, and I listen to NPR, and I listen to Valdez, and I listen to ABC News and Fox News and MSNBC and all of it. Welcome, all of you. But for those of you who have or have not heard, it was a glorious time to be alive yesterday. Yes, because of the election of El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. But not only because of that, but because of the reaction that goes with it, right? I guess, I don't know if everybody's like me, but I really take enjoyment. I relish in the moment of watching these people that are so smug and so, I don't know, ill-spirited at times, tell me what I should believe. I never tell you. I talk on this radio, this microphone that I'm blessed to be on. I do it every day for 3 hours. And in those 3 hours, I tell you what I think, what I believe for me. And I ask some questions, and I might challenge certain things. But I never tell you what you need to think. But the media, the left within the media in particular, they absolutely will tell you what you need to do. They're going to tell you everything that you need to think and believe. Why? Because that's part of what they do. It's part of the control, right? As a conservative, I believe in liberty. I believe in do whatever you want. Now, of course, that there's limitations at some point, right? If your whatever you want spills over into your whatever you want has something to do with my kid or me, then it's no longer your whatever you want, it's our whatever you want. And now we have to have a conversation. But as long as it doesn't, as long as you're not my kid's third grade teacher telling her that she can become Johnny instead of being a little girl, no problem. We're good, right? So that's where we are. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get to everything tonight, but some of what I want to do is play you some of the clips from the media that were just, like I said, glorious, just glorious to see how dumbfounded they are, because some of the folks in the media are very well aware of what they're doing, right? They realize, look, I believe a certain way, and I'm trying to persuade others to believe my way, right? And then there's others that just believe the way they believe. That's what they believe, and they share their thoughts and opinions. And I don't know if I'm an expert at distinguishing between the two, but I don't know that there's really much of an importance in the difference either. The bottom line is there were some priceless reactions. And I want to get to a few of them. And let me see here. I mean, there's so many. There's the ladies from The View. There's Fake Tapper. There's Jen Psaki. Jen Circle Back Psaki. I mean, I don't know where to start, but we're going to start somewhere. And I think we're going to start with, let's see, Jen Circle Back Psaki. Let's start with that one.
A big, huge part of the story that it's hard to even digest fully at this moment. But you have Elon Musk, who owns Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days, X, who is a disinformation propagandist and now has could potentially have a direct line to the Oval Office.
So now she's upset that somebody with money has access to the Oval Office. Now, I'm just going to remind everybody that when Jennifer Circleback Psaki was in the White House with President Biden, I think Alexander Soros, the son of a billionaire who was a billionaire himself, visited that same White House a lot of times. It seemed like he had some unprecedented access himself. And these guys have went ahead and created a fund that has loaned money to somebody that is now buying 200 some odd radio stations. It's clear that their political views are different than my political views. And they're trying to buy parts of the media, what I would surmise to say, to control the message that is shared on that media. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't care what your story is. You could talk about Karl Marx all you want. You could talk about all the things that I disagree with in life. I've never tried to purchase anybody's media. I've never tried to shut somebody down from saying anything. I don't care what other people say because I believe in something called the free marketplace of ideas. And yesterday, that's what we saw. We saw the American people vote. And the American people voted in the free marketplace of ideas because they heard Trump, they heard the rallies, they heard everything else that's out there, and they made their choice. And some of our friends in the media were absolutely dumbfounded. Now, it took, as you were all there, it took forever for Vice President Harris to concede. At some point today, she gave her statement. And maybe we'll give you a clip from that if we have a short one. But why did she leave everybody hanging last night? Why did she walk away from, I don't know, had to be 1,000 people, 500 people, whatever was there. Maybe it was more. It seemed like that place in D.C. was filled. And you could hear the gasps when she sends her campaign chair out there and says, hey, by the way, she's not coming out. Same thing Hillary Clinton did. Like, where do you put your face? How do you do that to your people? I would never do that to my people. If you were expecting me to come out and say, hey, I'm president or I'm not president, I'm not going to be like, hey, listen, guys, I'm just going to go home because I don't know where to put my face. And you guys go ahead and, I'll give some sort of little canned speech tomorrow when I'm okay. I don't care if I'm in tears. I don't care. I really don't care. People deserve that. Those people were there, whether they were paid to be there or not. They were there. They showed up, and she should have been there with her people. I've never seen Trump say, hey, we're having a rally. I've never seen it. If it happened, it may have happened. But I've never seen Trump say, hey, we're coming to Madison Square Garden and then not show up. You don't do that to people. It just, it says a lot about who you are, I guess. Anyway, I'm told we do have a clip of Que Mala Eres, but that's too long to play right now. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I did too much talking. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of time to play a lot of any of the audio I want to play for you, but I've got so much. I've got the Republican guy from CNN that some people are floating his name around. His name is Scott Jennings. They're saying that he is in the running or on the short list for press secretary in the Trump administration. I'm thinking, I don't know much about anything. Maybe he will be, but doesn't seem like he's ever been a part of MAGA world before. So we'll see. We'll see. I think they tried that, bringing in the outsiders, the pre-existing swamp people last time around, and that didn't bode very well. But he's got an excellent clip, and I look at guys like that that they allow on CNN because they don't allow me, right? CNN, every time there's been any conversation with me going to CNN, it ends with, we don't want him, or MSNBC. And this guy had a few good things to say, and what we're going to do is I'll play that on the way back. This way you can hear what he had to say, and then we'll get some reaction to that from former Deputy Press Secretary in the White House to the 45th President of the United States, scheduled to be with us a little bit later, Hogan Gidley. And And of course, reaction on the rest of this stuff from Sonny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and all the rest of them, and Jake Tapper, Jake the Fake. Lots to discuss. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I want to listen to you, Rich, all the time.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
In my humble view, lights out.
Please welcome back the next president of the United States.
I think it's going to be a blowout, actually. I don't think it's going to be a close race. I think there are going to be those Republicans that just vote for Harris.
It'll be tied on Election Day. As always, it will. The polls will be tied, and then he'll lose.
You call us trash? Oh, J.D. Vance, you just effed up in a way that I've never seen in my political life, and I worked for Sarah Palin.
Then I would say take Harris over 270 electoral votes. Let these fools in these crypto markets do something. Let them drive the betting line into a favorable place and then take advantage of it. That's what I would do. I think she's going to win.
This month, you wrote Trump is toast. Do you stand behind that today?
Oh, even more so. I feel the same way that I felt a few weeks ago that Trump is toast.
That is Bill Maher and the women of The View and so many other liberal media pundits making their prognostications that El Trumpito would lose and that Que Mala Eres would win. And boy, were they wrong. Now, on this program, I made a prediction, and I'm not really good at even doing predictions, but looking at stuff, I said, you know what? I really based it on where Trump was doing his rallies and how often he was visiting and callers to this program. And I said, I'm going to judge it on that anecdotal stuff. And I said, I think Trump is going to win 300 electoral college votes and 6 of the 7 swing states. I think I was right. And these guys were wrong. Somebody else that was right is Hogan Gidley. Hogan Gidley was on the 2020 Trump campaign as the press secretary. He was in the White House as deputy press secretary, and he's on with us right now. Hogan Gidley, welcome back.
It's great to be with you, Rich. Thanks so much for the time.
You bet, brother. So congratulations on all the work you've done at AFPI, and I know you guys have been doing a lot of work on the policy side to get prepared for this and to ensure this win. And here we are. And what do you make of all of the miscalculations that were in the media?
Well, you'll be surprised to know, Rich, that the media largely confuses things quite a bit.
No way.
It's an complication, right? They don't understand the American people want to have affordable gas and groceries. They don't want crime in their city streets. They don't want a wide open southern border. They don't want wars breaking out all over the world. They don't want men in women's sports. They don't want men in women's locker rooms. So when Kamala Harris comes on the scene, it's a love fest, even though the same media that told us a year ago that Joe Biden had a Kamala Harris problem, quote unquote, because she was so radical and because no one liked her. It's the same media who said, now all of a sudden she's the best vice president we've ever had, and she's going to be the best candidate and the best president. No one believed any of those things, and they tried to make it about white dudes for Harris or Hispanics south of Arkansas for Harris. Black people with, one right arm for Harris. I mean, it was just a whole cavalcade of nonsensical coalitions for Harris. But it turns out, regardless of your race, religion, color, or creed, you just want a better life for yourself today and one for tomorrow for your children. Kamala Harris couldn't provide that. She couldn't answer simple questions about what she would do because doing so would basically convict her of not being able to accomplish them while she was the sitting vice president, and it would also expose her radical policies. And so this was one of the most incredible, improbable political comebacks of my lifetime, if not ever, in this country. I'm blown away by what I saw. You were right. I don't even know that I thought this would be this big of a deal, like this big of a victory. I was much more concerned and cautious. But people told me this was going to happen, and I'll be danged if they weren't exactly right.
Hogan Gidley, I love hearing that, and you're right. I think you surmised it so well. And people, and I got to tell you, for me, from my perspective, and you tell me what you're hearing on the ground, but for me, obviously, I think inflation really moved people away from what they thought were sincerely and deeply held beliefs. Like, for example, I don't care what you do, with women's sports and men's sports. I think when people started losing money, they're like, hey, you know what, by the way, I actually do care about that. And I'm already pissed off because I don't have enough money in my pocket or my bank account. I'm not going on the vacation I want to go on. I'm not getting the new truck I want to get. And I really don't want my kid coming back as my daughter. And I think that really set people off from what I can tell. Those were really big issues. Now, there's some polling out there that says democracy was the big issue. I've never, ever felt like democracy was under threat until this administration started going after moms at school board meetings. What do you think of that?
Well, this is interesting because that particular topic, I do think democracy was a big issue for folks. Here's the problem with the mainstream media. Once again, they misread that as the echo chamber, that they live in. It's not that everyone thinks Republicans are a threat to democracy. A large majority of Republicans believe that democracy is under threat.
Sure.
But that's because they don't like what Democrats are doing. So when they saw that number, the media said, oh, everyone agrees with us. It's the Republicans that are to blame. But a majority of the American people said, wait a minute. You guys are trying to use government agencies to force us to vaccinate ourselves. You guys are trying to upend the Supreme Court, stack it. You guys are trying to get 2 new states with, Puerto Rico with the Senate filibuster and all these other crazy things. They were the ones trying to weaponize government to jail their opponents. So a lot of people out there thought democracy was on the ballot. But the problem with the media was they misread it because they thought everyone believed like them, that it must be January 6th that everyone, when you say democracy is under threat, that's what everyone thinks. But it's not what everyone thinks because most people don't believe that at all. Most people don't even know what January 6th is when they were talking about it from the left. This is a total perfect example of how the left doesn't understand real America and has a disdain for us that is so obvious. It's why they lost this election.
Yeah, and they forget about the school board moms in Virginia that were under attack and being threat tagged and whatnot by the FBI. This is exactly why I think that they missed the democracy thing.
And Rich, real quick, one of the things too, just quickly, the moms out there, whether you're single moms or married moms, you're doing everything you can to make sure your daughters are playing sports, swimming, soccer, volleyball. You're buying them equipment. You're traveling on the weekends. And so, to you're trying to get a few dollars shaved off that massive hike in tuition because of a scholarship. Well, when men are playing in your sports, a lot of those suburban women were like, hold on a second. I may not publicly say I'm going to vote for Trump, but I'm gonna, or I'm not even going to vote for Harris at all. Big wins amongst women for Trump.
Totally. Folks, we're on with Hogan Gidley. You know him from the America First Policy Institute. You see him on Newsmax all the time. By the way, Newsmax called this thing first around 1:20 something in the morning. I was watching that live. Anyway, we're coming right back with Hogan Gidley. We're going to continue our conversation on the media meltdown. Don't go anywhere. It's me, Rich Valdez.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Donald Trump taking a victory lap of sorts. I do not think that, as far as I know, any major news organization has declared him to be the victor, but it certainly seems that he is on his way to that point. There he is giving a generally, as far as he goes, unifying and generous speech.
Fake Tapper having a tough time getting through that one there. Again, that was around 4 in the morning or something like that, or maybe around 2 in the morning, saying that, nobody's called it. Meanwhile, Newsmax had called it. I think they were the first to call it, with others coming in not that long after. And then all the mainstream ones coming in way after. And it just goes to show you there's a problem with the state of the media. Our guest is the Chief Communications Officer for the America First Policy Institute. He was the Deputy Press Secretary in the Trump White House and the 2020 campaign press secretary. Hogan Gidley, welcome back. When you hear Fake Tapper say these things, is it really him? Is it just him and his own, I don't believe these people, if it's not, the New York Times is reporting something at 95% Trump win at that time. Is this him holding on for dear hope, trying to manipulate, digging his heels? What do you think?
Look, I think a lot of these folks, when they're trying to call races, are really waiting for their decision desks, and these are experts looking at the numbers, poring over them. So I wouldn't say he was holding out hope or anything like that. And I know Jake. I don't think he was doing that. But what I'm more distressed by was the lamentation in his voice. You could hear how dejected he was.
His dog died.
His preferred candidate didn't win, and thus the America he knows and loves is somehow in trouble when it's been in trouble for a long time, and that's why Donald Trump won. And he won so with an overwhelming victory in the popular vote, an overwhelming victory in the Electoral College. This was a huge win for Donald Trump, and the media. I'll tell you, Rich, I worked in the first White House, and I can't wait for Donald Trump to fix the policies in this country that really did improve the lives of all Americans, regardless of their race, religion, color, or creed. But I got to be honest, if I'm looking at this today, I have enjoyed watching the meltdowns. I want to mainline into my veins as much as I can, watching them freak out, saying the most ridiculous things online. It's unbelievable, because to them it is their religion. This is something to them that is so over the top, and they don't understand it. It's just politics. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, Hogan Gidley, it's so funny you say that. And I know that there's, friends of ours that feel the same way, but it's really not the same, right? Ultimately, there's a lot of people here, God-fearing people. They care about their family, they care about their lives, and they just want the government to kind of stay out of their way so they can do their own thing. Whereas I think Fake Tapper and his friends, they want the government, it is the end-all, be-all, and say-all of everything. And they kind of exist to make sure that they continue to propagate their messaging. And it's just fun to me to watch. I relished in it last night. I was up till 5 a.m. just watching these things. And this is where I guess, I'm a big fan of radio, but video really, he was hitting last night, where you could see their faces, not just, like you said, the lamentation in his voice, but the faces they were making, the long faces or the puzzled looks. Jen circled back, Psaki, silent P, of course. Jen was all over the place. She couldn't understand why people would vote for Trump. And you've been here for 20 minutes telling me why people would vote for Trump. I do it every day. Yet it's remarkable to me how people miss that mark. Is it something we're failing to do in our messaging, or is it something that they just can't grasp?
Both. Listen, I think we have a really good message. I think we have really good policies, and they've been proven to be successful. The problem with the left is they have a very big disdain, a hatred for those who don't agree with them politically.
Yeah.
We had Hulk Hogan show up at our convention. We had Hulk Hogan at the Madison Square Garden event, 100%. But the left thinks anyone who would dare watch the WWE or professional wrestling, the best in sports entertainment, is somehow a rube and a hick and a moron. They hate them for that kind of, if you're not going to Broadway, of course, on a Saturday night, right, then you don't understand real life. But Americana isn't that. It's all kinds of different opinions. They don't like that. And for them to dismiss all of the signals and signs of people out there who just want a better life, again, it's an overcomplicated view of where we are in this country today, to go deep and dark into all these weird recesses of their minds to try and make Kamala Harris likable when she wasn't. They tried to sell us a bad product. She is not likable. She's obviously radical. She's inauthentic. She's fake and phony, and it comes across that way. The American people saw that. And what the left and the media tried to do is force that down our throats as something that's real. And they did it with our economy. Remember, no, Rich, you don't understand. You're stupid. The economy is good. You're not really paying more for gas and groceries. No, Rich, you don't understand. The border's really closed. You don't have people pouring into your communities with drugs and human trafficking and child smuggling. It's so offensive to the American people. They try and tell you things aren't real that you're experiencing every day. And that's why they lose elections.
Yeah, and Hogan, to me, it reminds me of, again, I think the best example, and this guy's a fantastic senator now, VP-elect J.D. Vance, when he was pushing back on ABC News for saying that it was only a handful of buildings that were taken over. Martha Raddatz. It was only a handful of buildings that were taken over in Aurora, Colorado, as if that was insignificant, that somehow that was okay. And I wonder, how do we get to this level of elitism where we can kind of write off a handful of housing complexes that are taken over by a criminal gang from another country?
Great point bringing up JD for a couple reasons. I'm going to get to the Aurora example.
Sure.
But you understand, the media writ large told us he was a Handmaid's Tale type candidate, that he was going to send women back into shrouds and to force them into being wives at age 14. And then he goes out on the debate stage, and people tuning in for the first time were thinking, oh, I can't wait to see this guy melt down and be a crazy person like the media told us. And he's like, my meemaw raised me because my mama had drug addiction, and we've been trying to make ends meet our whole life, deciding between, drugs and food. And people are like, wait, this is the guy who is going to come after our rights? It was another repudiation of the media and a validation for Donald Trump. But you're talking about something in that interview. This is what I'm saying. Martha Raddatz doesn't have to worry about people coming into her neighborhood illegally and taking over whole apartment complexes. And for the media to say, it's okay, it's just one apartment complex, that's one apartment complex too many in our country. One person casting a fraudulent ballot, that's one too many in America. How many apartment complexes are okay, Martha? 10, 20, 100 across the country? That's just a small amount. This is the mentality that totally, again, shows their disdain for the American people, but also an ignorance to how real Americans have to work to survive every single day. And when a government imports millions of people that don't have the right to be here, that put a strain on our resources, Martha doesn't have to deal with that, but the rest of the world does. That's the problem, and that's why they're out of touch.
Yeah, 100% right. Hogan Gidley, let everybody know how they can keep up to speed with you if they want to follow the work you're doing at AFPI or everywhere else.
Please, absolutely. Thank you so much. Again, thanks for the time. J. Hogan Gidley, like J like the letter, not J-A-Y, but J. Hogan Gidley are all my true social and my Instagram and my Twitter, or X now, I guess. So anything you want to learn about what I'm doing on a daily basis or my thoughts, go right there. But I got to tell you, I couldn't be happier with the direction now of this country, with the House and the Senate in control of Republicans, and now Donald Trump coming back to the White House, knowing what he knows now. You can say hindsight is 20/20 because that's one of the best statements on the planet. Now he's been there before. He has the wisdom. He has the discernment. He has the knowledge. He's going to hit the ground running and doing things good for the American people.
Amen to that. It's time to make America great again. Hogan, it was great seeing you at Madison Square Garden. Thanks for being here tonight, and Godspeed, brother. See you soon.
Thanks, Rich. God bless.
You bet. God bless. All right, folks, we're going to continue. Your calls and more are coming up, 833-4-VALDEZ. Plus, Whoopi Goldberg says that the Kamala Harris campaign was perfect. We'll talk about that. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Aside from buck naked dancing on the top of the table, I don't know what else she could have done.
I don't think she could have done more. I think she left it all out on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I think she raised $1 billion in 3 months. I think that she ran a flawless campaign, and I maintain that. I think now it's the time for us to work. I think now is the time that we must stay vigilant. We have to speak truth to power and speak out. I intend to continue doing that. I think we need to stick up to bullying. We have to make sure that our institutions hold. I think that we have to watch very carefully the Supreme Court and the federal judicial appointments. And I think that we need to protest when we and exercise our right of freedom of speech and protest as is required or embedded in the Constitution. And I think in 2 years, if we see this country in a direction that we don't want it to be, then we must stand up and we must vote again in the midterms.
Okay, the beginning of that clip is Whoopi Goldberg saying, but for dancing butt naked on the table or whatever she said, Kamala's done everything. And then Sonny Hostin from The View joins in and says, look, she ran a flawless campaign. And then she goes on with some other platitudes and then ends up with saying, if we don't like what we see in 2 years, we should protest. If you don't like what you see, then maybe you should vote. I mean, protest and vote. I don't get her thinking sometimes. She sounds really butthurt to me, but hey, that's what it is. The bottom line is a flawless campaign is not a campaign for president when you're running against a candidate who, A, was already president, and B, started his campaign in 2023. Right? Trump has been at this for over a year, or at least a year. So, yeah, it was October. I think it was mid-October of 23 when he said, I'm running for president. And that's when all the witch hunt stuff started. I might have the month wrong, but that's how it went. So guess what? Yeah, you run a 2 or 3 month campaign against a guy who's already done this, who's done it more than you, who's done more debates than any other human alive, because that's right, more presidential debates. This is not a recipe for a win. I said it a lot. And a lot of people didn't agree with me. But I said, people kept saying, oh, you know, the thing is, if we get rid of Biden, then we'll be stuck with Harris. I said, Harris is even better. She'd be even easier to beat. And she was. She was even easier to beat. There was a benefit of the doubt factor with Joe Biden that we never gave her. It was easy to dismiss her. Democrats didn't like her. See, now, the likability thing's important because while Joe Biden would have been, was that 48 years in the Senate, government life, whatever. He had that smile. He had that squint, and he would try to charm people. Kamala Harris doesn't have charm. She's a petty tyrant. I never heard anybody say, I worked for Vice President Biden. I worked for Senator Biden. The guy was horrible. He was mean. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard anybody say that? She's got like 90% of the people that work for her that say that, or some high percentage. She's not likable. She has this laugh that some people find endearing, a very small percentage of people, and the majority of people think, that's kind of weird. She's kind of weird, like Tim Walz. Mind your damn business, right? So she picks the worst candidate for her VP running mate. The whole thing was bad. The only way they were going to win was by trying to tank Trump, by, stacking the deck in many different ways. And good on the Republican Party for having the right people in place to combat that. Anyway, I want to get to some of your calls before we get into the next hour. Let me see. Let's go to Mark, Grand Forks, North Dakota, WDAY. Go right ahead, brother.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for taking my call. First of all, I'll start off with this bad news for Minnesota. Tim Walz is still your governor. I live right across the river from Minnesota. So, well, you get what you voted for back there, folks. No, anyway, Rich, I was hoping to ask your guest a question. And, being he worked for Trump, and I've asked this from of people who've known Trump before, too, that how different would the presidency be? And how different would the persona be that is shown to the American public if any of the mainstream media were to give him just a basic modicum of decency and say, we're going to, we'll see what you actually want to do here and we're going to help you. And I fear that they're just so full of leftist communists in there that we're not going to see that. And,
I think you're right, Mark. I think what ends up happening here is if if they would have said, you know what, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, he would have been, the polls would have been more accurate. They wouldn't have had to put their thumb on the scale like Nate Silver said, right? He said that, his colleagues are sitting here saying this thing is neck and neck. He was basically saying, no, it's not neck and neck. It's going to be a blowout. He was saying it between the lines. And he said if the election were held today, Trump would win. So I think that we would have seen way more momentum for Trump. We had to wait until early voting came in and for them to tabulate that and to get exit polling on that to say, so Republicans seem to be ahead in early voting. When did you ever hear of that? I've never met a Republican that voted early ever. Amazing to see the way this victory came about. Really, really is. Mark, thank you for your words and for your call. Shout out to WDAY, North Dakota in the building. Folks, coming right back. The rest of your calls, Pittsburgh, Nevada, Charleston, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back. Rich Valdez with you straight till 1 a.m., relishing in the victory of El Trompido, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. And I want to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA. Let's check in with Tom very quickly. Go for it.
Rich, great show as always, amigo. Rich, first of all, I want to thank you, your show, and the many guests you had on your show during this campaign that energized the voters and enabled Trump to win this election. Rich, what you witnessed yesterday was old-fashioned butt-kicking. Yep. This is what happens when you mess with a person's pocketbook, don't do nothing for 4 years, and don't have anything to stand on.
You're right. And you know what? They opened up the borders. They allowed criminal aliens to come and kill. Thank God it wasn't your daughter and it wasn't my daughter. But there are many parents that lost their children, young women and little girls that were raped by illegal aliens. And for anybody to try and combat that, and I've heard a lot of people say, what about the white men that are raped? What about them? They're pendejos too. I'm talking about these illegal aliens that had no business being here in the first place. The ones that were invited here because of Joel Barboso Biden and Kemal Aedes. Those people are responsible for that, and that should never have happened. Thank you for your kind words. But yeah, it's terrible that it had to get to this, to see this type of reaction from the American people. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Oh, man. I see my buddy Jerome is out there, but I can't get to you now because the music is about to kick in. And we got Jeff in Nevada City. Jeff, if we can keep it tight, let's go for it. KNCO. No? Guess not, huh? No? Okay. All right. Let's go to Wayne. Go for it. Idaho, KBFI. No? Wayne?
Thank you, Rich. I am relishing this moment. It's been an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Wayne. The music means that we got to go. But you know what? It has been amazing for me as well. Wayne, if you call back, I got Jerome online. I got a few people waiting to get in. I want to get you guys in. Everybody's going to have a chance to go tonight if you've got the time. I appreciate it. Shout out to Idaho. And you guys have one of the fastest growing economies in the United States, so kudos on that. Folks, it's Valdez coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
America, I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you this Thursday night. No, Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. This election got me crazy. Anyway, our phone number, if you want to join us live, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. Going to get to your calls. I know there's a few calls out there, and just stick with me. And I want to get into a few things about the election because, obviously, big election day yesterday, Donald Trump winning with, I think right now, the current count is 312 electoral college votes. You know, my prediction was 300 electoral college votes and 6 of the 7 swing states. I think my prediction was right and then some. And 312 is the current number for Trump with 72 million votes to Harris's 68 million votes. So he's taken the popular vote. There's a majority, maintaining a majority in the House thus far as they still count votes. And they also have a majority in the Senate. So kudos to El Trumpito, and really congratulations, America, on a job well done. Now, throughout the campaign, we talked to a lot of people. We've invited a lot of people on the show. We invited Kamala Harris, que mala eres, and of course, she did not accept. We've invited AOC, all out crazy, my least favorite congresswoman from the Bronx and Queens. And, you know, she ran away from me when I saw her in real life, and she didn't want to come on the show. So nobody really ever wants to talk to me from that side. But every now and again, we get lucky, and somebody from the other side, our side, wants to join us. And a while back, we had somebody on that was really good. He really had some really good information about Ground Fusion A.I. And Gregg Phillips, who created the Ground Fusion A.I. platform, it was designed to target political engagement with data on 211 million voters. And it was kind of like, really, like the sniper, right? The sniper of election technology. And I thought it was really cool how they were using AI to do that. That's the same technology they used in the movie, the docudrama 2000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza. And it was something that they used in this campaign. And I want to get his take on what happened yesterday, how it happened, and the role that AI played in all of that from him directly, because he's with us now. Gregg Phillips, welcome back.
Rich, thanks so much for having me again.
My pleasure, brother. And forgive me, my voice is a little raspy. I've been doing a lot of talking the last couple of days. But congratulations on a big win. And let's talk about how your Ground Fusion game plan worked out with in real time yesterday.
Yeah, it was I think one of the most exciting times for us as a bunch of sort of tech geeks, if you will. We've been doing this for a long time. I've been in this space for 40 some odd years, and being able to target groups and target, whether they be independents or Latinos or whatever it is that we're trying to target, that's always been kind of easy, and we could do those things. But today we can do micro-targeting so that we can really develop messages that fit, very small groups of people. So rather than trying to, send a big broad message out to 1 million people and get marginal feedback, we now can target individual pockets of those. So we still communicate with those same groups of 1 million people, but we're sending Latino males messages about information that we know that they are interested in. And we're sending females things, and we're sending older folks. And so being able to target down to 47 different data elements that allow us to pick off, say, 800 folks here and 2,000 people there and 3,100 here, and do that at scale and do it across the country was one of the most, I think, interesting, effective, right. and in the end, I mean, we sat here and watched this thing unfold. And we were sending out targeted messages, and people were coming back in droves and saying, "Hey, thanks so much for the message. Right. We already voted. I sent this to my friend. We did this. We did that." And Greg, it was unbelievable, Rich.
Is this something that you're sending out via text message or through DMs on a social media platform, or what? How do you reach the actual person with the message?
Yeah, all of the above. That's one of the great things about this, because we have 211 million voters worth of information. We also have cell phones, and we have email addresses, and we have all sorts of social media ways to contact different people and different groups. And it's really put us in a position now to be part of a much larger base and expand our base into smaller groups that we normally wouldn't have any idea about. But the answer to your question is all of the above.
And how do you determine that, right? So let's just say, because I know that there's, there's a lot of different messages for different coalitions, different groups. I know that there's times I find myself arguing with people that I agree with, but we're arguing over the simplest of things, and it's because they believe it one way and I believe it another. I believe Donald Trump should be reelected because he's the most sensible guy who has the experience and has the right approach, no new wars and let's cut taxes, and that's my approach. Yet I have people in my family that I'll talk to and I say, no, it's because he's secretly working with the military to stop the evil cabal and et cetera. And I'm like, look, I don't care why you vote for the guy, just make sure you vote for him. But I know somebody's targeting them with this information, and I wonder, how do you find them? How do you learn who these people are?
Yeah, well, we have 500 or so different data elements for every single individual. And so we're able to really dig in and find things that they're interested in, find things that they buy, find things that places that they go to online, and be able to amalgamate those then and micro-target inside of it. One of the most exciting ones that we did that we still talk about, in fact, I was up in Canada the other day talking to the United Conservative Party up there about Ground Fusion, and they're going to start using it. One of the cool things we were able to do in the Iowa primary for President Trump was go into Iowa and target Latino males that did not vote in the last cycle, that were rare Republicans, meaning they maybe had voted in a primary on occasion, but maybe not, but that were NASCAR fans. We then picked out a couple of drivers, famous NASCAR drivers, and sent a message from the driver to the cohort, and had phenomenal results, turning out 90, 93, 98% of the people that we were communicating with. And so it's really the combination, not just of who the folks are, but what they're interested in being able to present messages to those folks that meet them where they are.
That's amazing. I gotta do lunch with you one day, Gregg Phillips. This is really interesting stuff, folks. If you're just tuning in, we're on with Gregg Phillips. He's the creator of Ground Fusion A.I. and helped the Trump campaign win part of this decisive victory with everything they've done. Gregg Phillips, I want to thank you for being here tonight. You are a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Folks, check him out at groundfusion.ai. Gregg Phillips, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rich.
You bet. All right, folks. Now, I also want to get some reaction to a big win that was just scored in New York yesterday. Congressman Mike Lawler is joining us next. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
That's J.D. Vance. He is the vice president-elect, and I think he's right. The greatest political comeback we've seen in American history, at least as long as I've been alive. And it was a big win last night. And another big win that we're seeing is in New York, Congressional District 17. Congressman Mike Lawler just edged out a victory there, and he's on the line with us. Congressman, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
You bet. So walk us through what's going on. A lot of people are nervous about holding on to the House. Obviously, you just did that. Congratulations on your victory. What's it looking like?
I think we're in pretty good shape. Obviously, there's a number of races still to be called. But, we had, 3 seats that we lost in New York, but we picked up 2 in Pennsylvania, 1 in Michigan to offset that. And then, so far we're holding serve everywhere else as these votes are being tabulated. So, I think we're in a position where it looks like we'll hold, upwards of 221 seats. and keep the majority. And, obviously with the Senate flipping and President Trump getting reelected to another term, it's going to be important to have a House majority that will work with him. And, obviously we've seen, when President Trump was in office last, 2 years under Nancy Pelosi, they refused to work with him and tried to stop everything he wanted to do on the economy, on the border. And obviously, I think voters across the country sent a very strong message last night that they want us to address these issues, and they have chosen President Trump to lead on it, whether it be the economy, the border, the international crises we're dealing with around the globe. And I think it's important that we get to work and hit the ground running from January.
Now, with respect to everything you're talking about, I think it's important to note that everything you're saying is right. We can't do anything if we elect a lame duck president. It's absolutely critical to have a House that you can work with. A Senate majority was secured, super, but without a House, that could open up the doors to. I don't have to say, right? We saw that when the Democrats had the House and they did one impeachment after another. So. The probability looks good from your perspective. Any curveballs, anything? Do you anticipate anything going awry that could kind of offset that?
No, I mean, I think, we're seeing, obviously, across the country, these races are panning out. The votes are being tabulated, and, it's along the lines of what we anticipated. So I think we're in a very good spot, to keep the majority and maybe even pick up a seat or two along the way. But there's so much work ahead. I think obviously the president talked about it during the campaign, and you saw the fact that he swept the swing states speaks volumes to the direction the American people want to go. And, I think when you're talking about the economy, whether you're talking about taxes, whether you're talking about the cost of living, whether you're talking about the border, and, ending catch and release, reinstating Remain in Mexico, building border wall, or you're talking about the international crises and the threats from China, Russia, and Iran, I think the American people spoke very clearly last night that they want President Trump to lead. And, it's going to be imperative to have a Congress that will work to address these issues with the president.
Now, Congressman, I agree with you. I think the American people spoke. They spoke loud. They spoke clear. 301 electoral college votes thus far, and I think there's a few more to go still. But the fight that you were in, right? The battle to keep your seat and the new lines that were drawn and things like that, and the attack ads were vicious. I have to say, I saw some and I was like, man, this is really out of pocket over here. The climate politically, obviously, it seems to get worse with every election cycle. Do you think that this big victory with Trump will kind of cool things off, or does it ratchet things up for those on the left, critics of yours, those that came after your colleagues? Does it get them more amped up to fight even more?
Well, you have people like New York Attorney General Letitia James today holding a press conference and saying that, this was not the result they expected, but that's okay because they've been investigating for months and they're going to move forward with the investigations and the use of the Attorney General's office to go after the president. This is exactly what the American people voted against by electing Donald Trump. We saw how the Department of Justice was weaponized, and we saw how the New York Attorney General tried to bankrupt the former president, and we saw how the Manhattan District Attorney turned what amounted to a misdemeanor into 34 felony counts and took what was a federal FEC violation and made it into a criminal matter. And the fact is that, the very things that people were so disgusted by is what Letitia James is now saying she's going to double down on. And that is not what the American people want. you can disagree with Donald Trump. You can disagree with the direction by which the American people chose to go last night. But that doesn't give you the authority or the right to use and abuse your power to try and stifle and stymie the direction that the former president wants to take the country. And I think that's where people are so frustrated by what they see in our politics. It's corrosive. It is not addressing the challenges facing the American people and their families. And frankly, it's part of the reason why I've been successful 3 times now in 2-to-1 Democratic districts, once in the state legislature and twice now for Congress, because I focus on the issues that matter to the people in my district, regardless of their party. And I think that's what they elected last night by supporting President Trump in record numbers. He's going to win the popular vote for the first time since George W. Bush won it in his 2004 reelection.
Now, Congressman, you did really well, right? I think you beat your opponent, Mondaire Jones, by 7 points. Trump did really well as well. Some of the Republicans in New York did not. Is this because of effective campaigning on the Democrats or because of the district they were in? What do you attribute that to? Is it momentum? I'm trying to put my finger on it.
Look, my colleagues ran strong campaigns, especially Mark Molinaro and Anthony D'Esposito, and they came up only a few thousand votes short. And all the votes haven't been counted yet, and obviously we'll wait for affidavits to come in, et cetera. But the fact is the Democrats spent tens of millions of dollars lying to voters about our records. I mean, in my race, combined between both sides, it's going to be over $40 million. Same for Mark Molinaro. And it's a tremendous sum of money, and in which they continually lied about issues like abortion. They lied about Social Security and Medicare. They just made things up out of thin air. But ultimately, I think it's just sometimes you get stuck in the headwinds, of a specific race and the amount of resources that are poured in. But these seats, all of them are competitive and will be again.
Outstanding. Congressman, congratulations on your big win beating Mondaire Jones, and I appreciate you being here, sir. Godspeed to you.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
You bet. Talk soon. All right, amigos, we're coming right back with your thoughts and more on the big win from El Trompito Donaldus Magnus. I'm Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
All right. And that is Que Mala Eres. And she has conceded her loss here to El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. And I did want to check in with John, Vero Beach, Florida, KTTB, actually, right? John, go right ahead.
Yes, Rich.
Yes.
God bless you for all your efforts. And I want to thank all American voters and especially the Latino voters and the people from Puerto Rico and Cuba, the Cubanos here.
Yep.
And I want to thank you for your tremendous job.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, John. And yes, big shout out to los cubanos that are here and todos los hispanos that are here. And of course, my familia, los puertorriqueños, los boricua. And there's so many great Hispanics, Latinos that are in this country, Americans of Hispanic descent that made a difference in this election. And I'm happy about that. I'm proud about that. And it's a great time to be alive. Great time to be alive when you win, right? Especially when you win with so many things stacked against you. They tried to kill your candidate. They tried to put him in jail. They tried to bankrupt him. They impeached him twice. I mean, just so much going on. But we will continue that conversation in a little bit. John, thank you for your call. Because as Kamala Harris has, now striking a tone that's a little bit calmer, and the ladies from The View striking a tone that's a little bit calmer, you still have people that are feeling the vitriol. Last night, if you guys were listening, you heard my daughter, she's 19, one of my daughters, called into the show. It was her first time voting. And today she comes to me and she's like, wow, I've lost 47 friends on social media and people keep coming at me. And I said, get used to it, kid. You don't announce that you've supported Trump or voted for Trump and think that it's going to come without consequence. Now, you could sit there and fold your arms and pout your lips all you want and say, well, it shouldn't be like that. We should be able to vote for whoever we want. Yeah, guess what? There's this thing called free speech. So as you're free to make your statement that you voted for so-and-so, they're free to tell you that they think you're an idiot. And that's okay. That's how it goes. So you got to be prepared for the backlash or don't get in, right? You can't stand the heat. Don't get in the kitchen. Got it. And we had that conversation. But she's not the only one that's going through that with her friends. And the majority of her friends are on board. It's just, a few outliers that are out there. But for other people, it's a bigger deal. They're not 19-year-old girls. They are adults, and it's the workplace, and it's other people. And this is a big thing, right? It's a very big thing. So I want to get some advice on all this post-election stress that people are going through, losing friends, the psychosis, if you will, that I think so many on the left are going through because they don't understand why did these crazy radical Republicans, what happened? How did the MAGA movement become so strong and so mainstream? Everybody that was once an extreme MAGA person is now, it could be my neighbor. They're all over. And something Bruce Lavelle said last night when he was on the show, he said back in 2016, you couldn't walk around with a MAGA hat unless you had a bulletproof vest on. That's funny, but it's not, and it was somewhat true. Today, you could walk around with a MAGA hat, and people are like, yeah, he's one of them, they won. So I think while we've made some improvements, some strides, if you will, at the same time, there's a lot that's left to be desired. So I want to welcome the Psychiatrist for America, America's Psychiatrist, Dr. Carole Lieberman. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Now, Dr. Carole, when you hear about these things, and there's people that are going through all sorts of things. Some people are going through serious, grieving and feeling of loss. How could Kamala lose? I mean, there was who was it? Let me see. It was Sunny Hostin on The View. She was so sad. She felt that it was terrible, and that's a long one. But Joy Behar, she's on The View, and she disagrees with the decision that most Americans had, but still she feels hopeful. But so many of these people are so disgruntled, and I don't quite know what to tell them. What say you, Doc?
Well, first of all, the reason why it's gotten to such a fever pitch is because during the election, during months, it seems like it's been going on forever, the way that the campaign was run, that Kamala's campaign was run, was to talk about what an evil man Trump is. It wasn't to talk about, Hitler, the worst. It wasn't to talk about, he has these plans to do such and such. I mean, they did say some things about, they were making some things up about what kind of plans he had, but it wasn't really about his plans. It was about him. And so after they built him up to be this evil Hitler, this devil, of course, when he wins, people are left feeling afraid. What is he going to do? How did this happen? And it's like that, it's kind of like COVID in a way. It's like something that they couldn't get their head around. They can't get their head around still, some of them. It's like too big, too big to rig and too big to understand. And so what people need to do, people who are happy about Trump winning, like I am and like you are. I mean,
Sure.
I was so, he seemed to be having higher results at the beginning. I mean, more positive results at the beginning, and then it got tighter and tighter. It seemed like, oh no, is this going to be another situation like with Biden, where
another 2020.
It's going to turn out that all of a sudden there are more leaking pipes and ballots that come from nowhere,
bomb threats, all sorts of craziness. Yeah.
Yes. So the best thing is to not, if you're confronted by someone who is not happy about this, you can. I mean, first of all, just be nice to them and unless try to have as little contact or as little conversation. I mean, give them time to grieve. Give them time to, in other words, if you confront them and you say, I'm not saying anyone would necessarily say this, but basically what you're saying is, ha ha, you lost, I won. That's not cool, and that's not going to work.
So I won't say that. Ha ha, you lost, I won. I'm not saying that tonight. Okay, got it. Check.
So, people will see, as time goes on, people will see that, how much he is going to do for this country. I think it's hard to ask people to think back how you were, what your life was like under Trump, and wasn't it so much better? Because people have, there've been so much that's happened since Trump, that it's hard for people to remember really just how much better it was.
Do you think this is like a situation of like Stockholm syndrome, where people have fallen in love with the Democrat captors who have given us high inflation and war and all these other things, and they're like afraid to go back to El Trumpito Donaldus Magnus because things were just so simple back then?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of it. And people who were voting for Kamala, I mean, surely they had to see, especially as the campaign was going on, that there was an empty shell there. There was no there. And I talk about how I'll keep talking about it if people forget or need to be reminded that she has. Now, I've never met her. I haven't personally examined her and all of that, but it's not hard to tell that she has imposter syndrome. What that means
is
someone who doesn't feel that they really fill the shoes that other people think that they do.
Yeah, but she really doesn't fill them.
But she what?
She really doesn't fill them.
Well, yes, that's the point. But if
so you're saying she knows it, and that's a problem?
Yes, and that's where her cackle comes from, and that's where her not wanting to do a lot of interviews come from. She does know it. And, that's why she never really, she was hiding from interviews and so on. And she was very anxious, the cackle, the posture, you could just tell that she was trying to hide something. So, and also if you can, hopefully more people who didn't vote for Trump will realize that the making of the man, or the how you could tell what a man he was when he got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah. And he fell down or was pushed down, and he came up and he didn't know exactly how badly injured he was. He saw a lot of blood. So he came up and he yelled, "Fight, fight, fight." And what he was saying was, I may die and whatever, this is, but you guys have to keep on fighting. And that was really the measure of of who he is. And so people will see that. Now, I actually was predicting or warning people. I don't have a crystal ball, but I was warning people that election stress could well go on beyond election day. Especially if we didn't know the results, and or also the unrest that the Democrats were promising us. Now, Kamala's speech. Her concession speech was really interesting because first of all, somebody else had to write it. She was not smart enough to write it. But given that, it actually had two layers. On the one hand, She spoke about the Constitution, and I called Trump and told him we're going to help you and all that kind of stuff. So it seemed really positive on one level. But on the other level, she was saying words to the effect of, I conceded the election, but I didn't concede the issues, what made me become...
You know what, Dr. Carole, we have a clip of that, and I don't want to gloss over it, so I'm going to take a pause right here. We're going to cue up the clip, and we're going to come right back with Dr. Carole Lieberman, America's Psychiatrist.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Look at Rich Valdez. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
In our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
And there you have it. She doesn't concede the election. She does, but she doesn't concede the fight. Fight. Dr. Carole Lieberman's our guest, America's Psychiatrist. Dr. Carole, you were just mentioning this clip and the fact that she was conceding, but kind of not conceding. Is that right?
Yes, and almost sending a dog whistle, telling people subtly, or I don't know how subtle, but I mean quietly, that we should still fight for these, whatever their values were, whatever particular hot buttons were in their campaign, that we should, he's our president, okay, but I don't owe loyalty to him. I mean, these are, we don't. So I think she was trying. Half the underpinnings, the underlying message really was an aggressive one. Was to fight against his being president, or not to go along with some of the things that he is going to promote. And I think people, some of the people could really hear that. It really wasn't that subtle. It was saying, I have to concede. This is what I'm supposed to do, but you guys, we're going to really keep fighting. And I'm surprised. I mean, at least I haven't heard of any civil unrest yet, but perhaps I missed something. I don't know. But I don't know that we can totally breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah. And, I got to tell you, if I were from the mainstream media, I would immediately say that this woman is a threat to democracy, that she is an extremist, a domestic terrorist, and all sorts of things they would say about you and me. But yet I don't say those things. And I just find it remarkable that she just lost because of this. And she's doubling down on that.
Yes.
Is that the smart thing to do?
Not really, but then again, she probably knows some things that we don't know yet. But no, I mean, it's just she was there as her party put her up there, because they took Biden down, and I mean, finally, in some ways, this was good. Enough people finally realized that he has dementia. What I've been talking about since 2020 when he was in his basement. So that's a good thing. But on the other hand, they grabbed her to be the face of the party, to be the candidate, and, to be essentially Obama's mouthpiece. Again, since Biden was gone, so she was going to be Obama's face. And and it really wasn't. Again, there was no there, but yet she has a lot of Hollywood people. That's the problem. A lot of the media and a lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of famous singers and Beyonce and Oprah and all that. She had all these people. It's so interesting. She had these celebrities saying, "Oh yes, vote for Kamala," but she had no principles, no plans, nothing to say. "Oh well, vote for me because I'm going to do this and that." So she just wanted to have these people, impress us all by having these celebrities say that you should vote for her.
Right.
So I mean, and who was it? Was it Bette Midler? Or I don't remember now who it was. But someone was saying we should all drink Drano.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I remember during COVID, it was kind of crazy. Dr. Carole, hang on. I'm sorry to break it up, but I've got to take another quick pause. Pay some bills. We're coming right back with Dr. Carole Lieberman.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
So, how you feel?
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke.
That, of course, is Joy Behar on The View today, saying she believes in the system, democracy works. She doubles down a little bit later, throwing some jabs, but ultimately, that's what we all have to say. It's all we all had to do, and that's where we are. Our guest is America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carole Lieberman. Dr. Carole, give us your final thoughts on this in the last minute we have together, as well as where people can follow you and find you.
Sure. Well, first of all, that is a good point that, yes, we should all be happy that there wasn't election fraud like the year before, that whatever, actually there are reports that there was some, but that Republicans at the polling places stopped it before it could get to be something serious. So we should be happy that this election worked. And people will see what a great change Trump will make. As far as how to reach me, well, terroristtherapist.com is the best website to reach me, and of course I'm on Twitter and so on. But I think people will see as time goes by what a wonderful next 4 years we're going to have.
Outstanding. Dr. Carole Lieberman, America's psychiatrist. Make sure you give her a follow, check out her website, and check her out on Court TV as well. You are a gentlewoman, a scholar, and a patriot. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, amigos, it's open phones across America. I know a few people are on hold. I can't wait to speak with you regarding the big win. Donald Trump, president-elect. Rich Valdez, don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo, happy to be here with you this Wednesday evening. And the phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. Donald Trump is your president-elect, and Que Mala Eres is the vice president on her way out, along with her partner in crime, Joe El Baboso Biden. Yes, I'm gloating a little bit. I am happy about this because, it's part of my personality. But I really am grateful for the situation that we're in. I realize that sometimes for things to get better, they do have to get worse. And I think that we'll probably see that economically, at least. We're going to see some of the chickens come home to roost before Trump's policies can take effect. But come January 2025, I think things are going to improve over the first 100 days might be a little shaky because, there's the reality of the consequences of the Biden administration. But I say a year from now, we're going to be a lot better than we are today, and I'm hopeful for that. But Kamala Harris bailing out last night, leaving her supporters flat, just waiting, standing there, waiting for her to say, hey, thank you for helping me. Nothing. Just went home to cry, to fill up her bed sheets with her tears. Yeah, really, really bad. Anyway, Kamala. Bottom line here is she dissed people. Her campaign guy came out and said, Vice President Harris is not coming out. You're not going to see her tonight. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And then today, at 6 o'clock at night, she decides to say things like, we're never going to give up. We'll concede the election, but we'll never give up the fight. And she went on to say that the fight has to continue in quieter ways. Thank God they're quieter. Listen to this.
And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect.
Well, amen to that. And I think they should have thought about that when they were calling Trump Hitler, right? Or when they were saying that he's a threat to democracy and that he can't be elected and we got to take the guy out. And then somebody tried to take him out and another guy was caught pointing a gun at him. I mean, the things that have happened here are unbelievable. For her to talk about kindness, let me ask you, Donald Trump has said things like, Liz Cheney is a war hawk and she probably wouldn't be so aggressive if she had to be in front of a rifle. And they said all sorts of bad things about him. Yet Kamala Harris and the other one, they say that he's a fascist, he's this and he's that. They get no scrutiny. He's the one that actually got shot. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is why she lost. People aren't stupid. Anyway, she's not the only one that's upset. You've got Cecilia Vega from CBS News. She's out there and she's saying that very, very, very scared feelings are permeating the households and the hearts and minds of Latinos across America. Why? Because they're all going to get deported. Listen to this.
There are a lot of people in this country who are very excited right now, many of them in that room. I also think a lot of people are very scared tonight. When you look at the proposals that Donald Trump has laid out for a second term when it comes to just immigration alone, I'll do this really quickly as we watch to see what he takes the stage. A travel ban 2.0. He wants to end birthright citizenship for babies born to the United States to undocumented parents. He wants to use the Alien and Enemies Act of 1978 to dismantle, to deport gang leaders. That is a law that has not been used since World War II to intern Japanese Americans in this country. And we talked about his mass deportation plan. What we didn't talk about is that Tom Homan told me that would essentially involve deporting entire families together, including children who were born in this country. So there are a lot of people who are scared right now.
All right. Now, when was the last time we deported children that were born in this country? Come on, Cecilia Vega from CBS News. Dejala bleep. Come on. Really. Be fair here. You know what's fair? The fact that it was Hispanics, excuse me, allergy season, it was Hispanics that delivered a good portion of this victory. That's facts. Big turnout with Hispanics yesterday for Trump. Because you know what? They also like borders. They also like doing things the right way. Hispanics like living in safe neighborhoods. They like the fact that they came here from another country. Not all of them, some of them. I didn't come here from a different country. My parents were born in Puerto Rico, and they were born American citizens. But there are many who weren't. And my point is, I have the same values as so many others, right? We all love America. My brother served in the Marine Corps. 2 of my other brothers were cops. I mean, people love their neighborhood, their family, and their country. This is not exclusive to one's skin color or what language you speak at home. It's just not. It's wrong to say that if you're Hispanic, you don't like America. It's wrong to say if you're white, you don't like America. You've got lefties like Bernie Sanders. He's as white as they come. I would never say that white people are all commies like Bernie Sanders. The same way you can't say that people like me are all like Kamala Harris. So point is, this decisive victory was record breaking, and we haven't seen this type of turnout with Hispanics since Bush in 2004, which is 20 years ago, and he blew that away. Listen to this.
Founder and president of Benevito U.S., Abraham Enriquez, joins us now. Thank you for being here. What are you seeing in terms of the Latino vote across the country tonight?
I am so excited to share with you that Trump just made history. Regardless of what happens tonight, which I'm pretty hopeful for President Trump, he just won the highest share of Hispanic voters for a Republican presidential candidate in history. So this blonde hair,
the highest in history. You heard it right there. That was on Fox News with I think it was Lawrence Jones, and again Abraham Enriquez from Bienvenido U.S. And that's where we're at, right? The highest turnout for any Hispanic turnout in any presidential election for a Republican. It's a big deal. So why was it? Is it because Trump was so bad to the Hispanics, like she said? No. It's because the media likes to do the thinking for people. They like to say that, no, because Hispanics like this and that. And if you talk about immigration, they won't. All right, some of them might not. But the large majority, even if the largest majority in the country, right, which is I think the largest minority in the country is Hispanic voters, even if that is segmented, which it'll always be, even if you can just pull off a fraction of that, a bigger fraction than you got last time, that's how you beat the other side. And that's exactly what happened. So even if the majority of them vote with the Democrats, they voted in a smaller number than they did in the past and a larger number with Trump and the Republicans. And voila, it's a recipe for victory, or what many will say is a landslide. I predicted that this would be 300 electoral college votes for Trump and winning 6 of the 7 battleground states. And guess what? I'm looking at the Newsmax map right now. 312 electoral college votes for Trump, 226 for Harris. And looks like everything's done being counted, or at least close to it. There's still some counting, but they've called it. At least Newsmax has called it. And let me just go to the other one here, just to give you the fake news version. Here we go. The Associated Press. 295 for Trump, 226 for Harris. So, same thing. They just haven't called Arizona and Nevada yet for Trump. But they will. And that's exciting. Anyway, folks, I want to get to your calls. Lots to discuss tonight. Speaking of Nevada, let's go to John, Reno, Nevada. KJJJ. Go for it.
Good evening, Rich.
Good evening.
I was born in 1972. And since the day I was born, the Ted Nugent song Stranglehold has been what the Democrats have had over blacks, Latinos, Catholics, Jews, and Unionists. It's been an absolute stranglehold. And the Republican Party has finally returned to their roots and worked at being the party of the working man.
Well, amen to that. I'm glad it's happened, and thank you for the call, brother. Big shout out to John in Reno, Nevada, KJJJ. And I think you're right, John. I don't know about everything you said, but I do know I think the Republican Party, at least I'm 46. 20 years ago, I worked on a campaign, and before that, I was just a regular voter. And I could say in the time that I've been involved in politics, for me, the Republican Party was the only place to go because I was able to be whatever I wanted to be. I was a small business owner, Puerto Rican kid from Brooklyn that loved America. And that didn't fit in the Democrat Party. It didn't fit. I wasn't one of them. I didn't like the idea of having a government job that came with a pension. I didn't want to have anything like that for me. I was like, no, I'd rather have a business and sell it, or buy a house and sell it, or rent it out, or do whatever. I didn't want I honestly didn't want to work anywhere for 25 years. and then wait for them to give me a pension. I was like, you don't think I can make enough money in 10 years or 15 years? And, I just didn't want to have to give my whole life to some sort of job in order to make a living. Anyway, that was my thoughts as a young man. But the point is, I fit in the Republican Party. They were like, oh, cool, join the party. It's the big tent. Nobody talked about a big tent on the other side. So I think you're right. I don't know if we're getting back to our roots or there's more people that have taken up residence inside of the Republican Party, allowing the big tent to get even bigger, to expand the territory of the big tent. And I think that's what we're seeing. There's a lot of populists here. There's a lot of Democrats here. There's a lot of Democrats that feel like they don't fit in their party anymore. And when you have a populist movement like MAGA, making America great again, we may not agree on everything, but we all agree on something, and that's America. Thank you, John, for your call. Folks, I'm going to pause right here, coming right back. Rest of your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Voted best head of hair in live late night radio 6 years in a row. It's Rich Valdez.
Well, and that's what makes the timing, I think, of President Biden's decision to step down after the debate something that, if she does in fact lose, will be under a microscope because, of course, there was so much discussion, even over the summer, about potentially having an open primary and having that fight play out within the Democratic Party. So I think it's one of the big questions moving forward.
That is Christian Welker. She says this is Biden's fault. Listen, I'm not blaming Biden here. Biden did everything he thought he could do. I guess you can put blame on Biden if there was some internal matter where he said, because he came in saying he was going to run one term and then he would see. He decided, I'm running for another term. That was when the issue happened. They should have pushed him out then. They didn't. They let him run. They let the whole thing simmer. It didn't work. He embarrassed himself on the debate stage where they said, oh my gosh, there's no coming back. They tried to fix it by sticking Harris in there and trying to kill Trump, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Now, I'm not saying that the Democrat Party killed Trump. I am saying that the Democrat Party put Harris in there and that the critics of Trump, in particular one crazy kid from Pennsylvania and whoever he was working with or for, tried to kill Trump. That's what I'm saying. And before the people from Media Matters for America get on top of me. But the point of my story here is that these guys, the Democrats, they did everything they could. They yelled at black men. Obama scolded them and said, hey, you don't know what you're doing. You're wrong. You're this and that, and whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, got it. Hillary came out. Everybody came out. Clinton came out and said, look, the economy's great with Trump, but vote for the other guy. You know, all sorts of things happened. It was never going to work. I think the media did everything they could to make us think that it was going to work, but it was never going to work. And I just think back to what I said on this program months ago when I said, somebody said, well, if they get rid of Biden, if they do a switcheroo and we get Kamala, then what? She'd be even worse. And I said, no, she's even better. She's even better and she's more beatable. And you can, all the tapes are there. If you want to go to richvaldez.com and listen to what I said months ago, you can. The point is, it was proven to be true. People are tired of this stuff. You can't mess with people's financial situation and their children and everything else that they've done in immigration at the level that they have and think you're going to get away with it. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, let's go to the phones. I want to go to Lydia. She's calling us from Chicago on WLS. Go for it.
I think it's possible that a lot of Hispanics were paid by the Republicans to vote.
How much did they get paid?
And that's the question. How did they pay them?
Well, where are you getting this idea from? Have you met 5, 10, 15 people that said, yep, I voted for Trump because they paid me?
Hispanics do that. Now, we've been plagued by you conservative talk show hosts for, 5 years now? And finally you won.
But hold on, Lydia, hold on. I'm giving a lot of time here. What makes you think that they were paid? Come on, Lydia. Don't do that. Oh, she hung up. I thought we had a live one on the hook. That was going to be fun. We were going to explore the truth, and she was unable to answer the question. So she hung up on me. All right. Well, what are you going to do? Let's stay in Chicago. Let's go with Becky. Becky's on WLS. Go for it, Becky.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
I'm very thankful that Trump did win. And for that previous caller from Chicago, I think it's...
Is that one of your neighbors?
They're all liars.
Yeah,
I got a few neighbors that were very unhappy today. I'm just glad that he got in. We really need to change. But if I can give maybe some advice to the other Republicans that are already in office, that they start working so that Trump, when he gets there in January, that he can hit the ground running, that they can start working on some of his plans that he wants to do in the first 100 days. And I really gotta say, I'm really disappointed with Biden. I mean, where has he been? It's like he deserted the office. And
well, in fairness, Becky, he had deserted the office before he even took it. Right? He ran an entire campaign for president without making appearances. He ran an entire campaign for president via Zoom from his basement. He didn't do a lot of public discussion, and he has done the same exact thing. What was it? Until the other day with Joe Biden, he'd gone something like a year or something like that without having a press conference. The amount of time we don't see Biden is concerning. Kamala's been in hiding with him. They come out when they feel like it. She ran a whole campaign the months that she did where she didn't even go on TV until the very, very end. And even that was problematic with CBS and the fake interview answers and all that stuff and the cut and paste editing. Absolute insanity. Becky in Chicago, thank you. Shout out to WLS. Folks, your calls and more are coming up. Plus, listen to what one Republican on CNN told the rest of the CNN panelists that shut them up. I'll be right back. Rich Valdez.
Call now 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I just say, Rev, really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men.
Mm-hmm.
It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States.
All right. That is the expert analysis from Joe Scarborough from the Morning Joke on MSNBC. And man, so I'm now back to being a racist because I'm a Hispanic this time. I'm a misogynist, machista, right? Toxically masculine because I am Latino, or if you're black out there, the reason Kamala lost is because black and Hispanic men are racist misogynists. You got to love that. Let's go to Doug, Polo, Illinois, WLS. Doug, go for it.
Hi, Rich. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hi. Talking about the very point you're just making there was, I saw a report today, and they're talking about the reason Kamala Harris loses the election is because she's a woman, and we just don't want a woman president. And I'm like, you guys can't do anything right. For months and months and months, we've been telling you it's the economy and it's the border. That's what we've all been saying. I mean, the whole country's been telling them that. And they're trying to tell us, no, that's not what it's about. It's about women. It's about race. It's about all these other things. They're trying to how do I put? They're trying to tell us what we're thinking instead of listening to what we're telling them it is.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Doug. And that makes all the sense in the world. If they're telling you what to think, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that they don't trust you enough, they don't respect you enough, they don't have faith in the American people to choose what they believe is best for them. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, maybe I hit my head as a little kid, but I always think that people know what's best for them. Now, some people may not, people that are dealing with addiction, people that may have Alzheimer's or dementia, they need help. But people that are in their right mind, I think you're okay. So if somebody that is Hispanic or black wants to vote for a candidate, I'm not going to sit here and say the reason you're voting for this is because you're a misogynist and you're a racist. You don't want a woman leading you. Now, it may be true. Maybe I don't want a woman leading me. But I could care less if that woman is whatever, right? Black or Indian or anything else. If that was my thing. So is that the new thing now? All black men and Hispanic men are misogynists? I mean, it's a tough sell because, Hispanic men are typically surrounded by women, right? They keep their mom living with them. They get married. They have kids. Big families are the way to go. And I just think it's insulting. I think Joe Scarborough is a pendejo. And the fact that the Democrats and Joe Scarborough, they're token Republican, if this is what they think, they're going to continue to lose because they're pushing people away. Doug, thanks for your call, brother. Shout out to WLS. Now I want to continue with Sarah.
Hello?
Go for it.
Okay. Hey, I think that Scarborough guy is just stupid. The Democrats always want to say that they love minorities or they love women, but the minute someone actually exercises their civil right to have a belief system that doesn't necessarily include democratic, they suddenly turn on them. And I'll tell you what, if they're really worried about misogyny, what about all these rapists we're letting in the country?
Yeah, 100% right. Now, Sarah, do you think that people are afraid of a woman leading them? Do you think it's because American men or American black men, American Hispanics are racist and misogynist? But back when Margaret Thatcher was prime minister in England, that I guess the English are less misogynistic. Do you think it has something to do with that?
No, absolutely not. They're just trying to muddy the waters. The thing is that a lot of people don't agree with the radical left that the Democratic Party has taken, and that includes black men and Hispanic men. It has nothing to do about her being a woman. It has to do with the party she represents and the issues that she holds, which, by the way, she wanted to wish-wash and backtrack half the time, so who can even trust her? But it has to do with the issues, and they don't want to deal with it. They're going to make it everything about race or about misogyny. They don't want to talk about that their platform sucks.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the bottom line. Americans aren't making money with their platform. Their platform sucks, and that's the bottom line. Sarah, Bedford, Indiana, WBIW, thank you for your call. God bless you. And let's keep going. I want to go to Paul, Paris, Tennessee, WUCT.
Good evening, Rich. Always glad to be on your show and listen to you. Years ago, I watched this movie called Narnia, and I feel like the White Witch has finally let her ice melt, and we're coming into a better way.
And what are your thoughts on Senator Vance, now Vice President-elect Vance?
Haven't heard too much about him. We'll see how he performs. Up until now, it seems like he's going to be okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. My understanding was you had a comment about Senator Vance and leaving the Senate. I guess I got that wrong.
Yeah, no, you had it right. I have a question. If he
Let's
leaves
get to
his
it.
seat in the Senate, how does that seat get filled when he becomes VP?
Sure, yeah. They'll make a choice on how to fill that with a candidate, and they'll do a special election eventually. And I would suspect that it would be somebody from Ohio. My pick right now, without looking at the line of candidates, Vivek Ramaswamy, I think is a very capable person that would likely do a really good job in the Senate, just based on what I know of him. I've talked to him a couple of times, and he seems pretty solid, so he would be my vote, Paul. Thanks for your call, brother. Paris, Tennessee, WCMT. Taking a pause right here. Throat is scratchy. Got to hit that T. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I'm worried about mass deportation and internment camps, and I'm also worried about Elon Musk warning Americans to prepare for temporary hardship. I'm surprised at the result, but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I was so hopeful that a mixed-race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Cultural resentment. She says everybody's going to go to internment camps and everybody's a racist and a misogynist and a homophobe. This is exactly why they lost. Unbelievable. It looks good for the Republican Party. If you're thinking of running for Congress, now's a good time. Next election, you're probably going to win. Anyway, let's go to the phones. I want to go to Eduardo, Tampa, Florida, WENG. Go for it.
Thank you, Rich. Well, yeah, this is a Douglas MacArthur I'll be back moment. I think we need to deport not only Hollywood, but these reporters. If I were President Trump, I would only do interviews on the radio with somebody like you or, Bill Cunningham. You know who I'm talking about.
Sure.
I don't need to mention the whole list. Yeah. And I would make a statement just to put them on their heels and push them back as far as the people that we're going to deport are criminals. And already Claudia Sheinberg, she's the president of Mexico. She's already in a tippy as far as, I don't know how hard she's going to be, but she's going to be one of the resistance to...
Eduardo, there's always going to be people that are going to push back on policies like that. But the reality is we don't really have too many options. The Trump administration is going to have to rely on local law enforcement to help him with this mass deportation program. And it's not going to be pretty. And honestly, it has to happen. We can't just say leave them all here. We've seen what's happening. They're overrunning things in Colorado. There's a lot of criminals here. I don't believe of the 20 million, I don't believe the majority are criminals. I think it's the criminals that are going to go once things are under control and people can go to hotels in Manhattan again and people can walk around Aurora, Colorado, and things are safe. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a softening of the deportation policies. I can pretty much guarantee it, just based on common sense. But until that happens, I think there's going to be a hardline approach, and I think that's going to come with a price. We're going to pay a political price, a price in the media. People are going to come at us. People are going to take shots at law enforcement. People are going to take shots at Trump, and I mean figuratively, hopefully not literally. And there will be a financial price to pay. I'm sure the economy might suffer a little bit as a result of all that, but it's the necessary thing to do in order to move forward. And once we get past that and all of that critique, then we can move into this golden age that Trump was talking about. So thank you for making the point. And I think I appreciate, your recommendation that Trump come on with me more often and others in our business. But I will say he has to continue going into the lion's den because that's what makes him him. He has to be able to go out there and say, no problem, National Association of Black Women Journalists, I'm here. What do you want to talk about? And go head to head with them. Because that's what Trump does. And that's where I think he's most effective. And he's president of all the people. So he doesn't get to be too picky and choosy at this point. But Eduardo, thank you for your call, brother. Shout out to Tampa, Florida, WENG. Let's continue. Let's go to Joe, Chicago, Illinois. Joe, go for it.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you.
really quick. We unfortunately had a Chicago police officer that was killed on Election Day, it just got me thinking that if that won't make you change your Democrat vote to Republican, I don't know what will. Law enforcement are kind of the forgotten bunch when it comes to voting, and I don't see. And I'm sure you're familiar out here in Illinois. We've got this thick blue state, and our fat governor doesn't want to be bothered with the day-to-day of law enforcement, and he would rather us just go away. So I don't know what it's going to take to change him.
Joe, you're a hero. I want to salute everybody in law enforcement. My brothers were NYPD. They both retired now. I did a little stint of a couple of years with the Nutley Police Department as part of their police reserve. And I can tell you that it's not an easy gig. And people overlook law enforcement, but I'll tell you who doesn't overlook them. The Democrats. They were front and center when they were talking about defunding the police, when they were talking about removing qualified immunity. So like you said, if you're thinking about removing your vote for Democrats, if you support law enforcement, that's the way to go. You should never vote for a Democrat. They don't have your back, and it's law enforcement that does have your back. So I think people need to be sensible in what they do. My condolences to your officer who reached his end of watch, and Godspeed to you, sir. Shout out to Joe in Chicago on WLS. And I'm going to take a quick pause right here. We're going to come back with the rest of your calls and more. Minnesota, Marion, Illinois. Rich Valdez coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Well, thank you so much for having me back on, Rich. I always enjoy talking to you.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back, familia. We continue our conversation, our late night national conversation with you all, the American people, we the people. And we just had a caller from Chicago on WLS, and he talked about a police officer being shot. That officer, Chicago police officer Enrique Martinez, was murdered in the line of duty on Monday night in the city's south side. Did a traffic stop and was just blasted. And this is the danger that police officers deal with on a regular basis. And to hear the Democrats ever say, we have to defund the police when they're trying to stop a car and getting assassinated is beyond me. They'll never have my support. Anyway, I do want to wish again my condolences to Officer Martinez's family. Thank him for his service, and my prayers and thoughts, of course, are with them. And we continue with your calls. Let's go to Nick, Chicago, Illinois, WLS. Go for it.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Great program. Love it.
Thank you,
sir. Helping Donald in. And, that was a very unfortunate shooting at the Chicago PD. The guy just was made it like 3 years, 26 years old.
26 years old. What an absolute shame, Nick. It really is. Thank you for your kind words, Nick. I appreciate you, brother. God bless you. And it's a real shame that this is what's going on. And we need to take things, we have to take control of things. You can't sit here and expect things to get better. Chicago's been a problem for a long time, and I understand there's going to be crime in big cities, but it doesn't have to be that way forever. Look at Rudy Giuliani. Rudy cleaned up New York City, brought crime really, really low. The way he did it, he got very aggressive with crime. It can happen. Anyway, Nick, thank you for your call, brother. I want to continue. Let's go to Roger, Ozark, Alabama, WDBT. Go for it.
Hey, Rich Valdez with an S. How are you doing? Hey, I just want to say that I felt this great high off the Trump's victory, but today I was feeling like because I got so high that I had to come down a little bit, and I just wondered what you think about that.
Yeah, well, I think, look, I've lost my voice with all the shouting and celebrating I've been doing, but I'll tell you this. I'm very, very happy about what's going on. But the reality is, we still have a couple of months left before he gets sworn in. We have to deal with the Democrats a little more. These issues that we face in our country are very sobering. And there's the sport aspect of it, like, my team won the World Series type of thing. My team won the Super Bowl. Well, my team won the election, and that feels great. And I get to gloat, and I get to, one up my critics and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it is about our country. This is about it being good for liberals and for conservatives. It's about being good for Republicans and for Democrats. We want the best country we can have so that our kids who may be liberals or our kids who may be conservatives or independents or apolitical can have a better future for America. And that's where we are. And I believe we're going to have a better future. And we need one if our kids are going to have a fighting chance. Roger, thank you so much for your call, brother. God bless. And let's go to Craig, calling us from Minnesota, streaming the show online. Craig, what city are you in?
All right. Hey, how are you doing?
Great. What city are you in, Craig?
I'm in Winona, Minnesota.
Craig, where?
Winona, Minnesota.
Winona, Minnesota. All right. What's on your mind tonight?
So, it's one of those. Personally, I don't care whether you voted for Trump or you voted for Kamala. But
great.
As an American, what I see is this. We want a leader who projects confidence. You ask Trump a question, and he says, America, this is where we are going. And if Kamala is asked the same question, she goes, well, America, this is what I think, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, she laughs. She says she was brought up in a middle-class family where people took pride in their lawns, and she worked at McDonald's, and she goes on and on. You're right. People want a leader they can believe in. That's how leaders work, right? You're willing to follow somebody that you believe in. And I think a lot of people are following Trump's lead here because we believe in his message, not necessarily him, but his message and his ability to deliver on that message. And I agree with you. Thank you, brother, for the call. Shout out to everybody in Winona, Minnesota, streaming the show tonight. Tim and Marion, I'm sorry I couldn't get to you, but I agree with you. Tiananmen Tim is a clown. I'm glad that he lost, as well as Kamala. Tim, call back tomorrow. We'll get you on right away, I promise. Folks, hasta la próxima. Take care, good night, and God bless you. I'm going to have a little bit more tea to get my velvety voice back in action. Until then, God bless you, America. Hasta la próxima. I'm Rich Valdez.